Okay, we are doing it live. I am pleased to share with you today a new Colab notebook I've put together for OpenAI's computer use agents. This, I think, is a great way to get started with OpenAI's new computer use agent model, which is in preview at the moment. And what it allows you to do is set up your agent, run it in Google Colab, give it actions so it can control a web browser for you. And what's pretty cool about this notebook is that it also runs all of this in the UI, like this UI pictured here, which gives you a chat history, gives you the preview of what the image preview of what the agent is doing, and then it also gives you the status logs as well. These computer use agents from OpenAI are pretty new. They released Operator back in January. This is integrated into ChatGPT. And they've shown a few demos where it allows users to book things like holidays. OpenAI did actually make available a code repository for running their computer use agents in code. I've used a bit of this in my code, but actually my code, I had to do a lot of additional work around it to get it to work really well. Because actually the code that OpenAI provides with their computer use agent doesn't work particularly well out of the box. And actually we can take a look at that right now. So this is a video I made putting OpenAI's out-of-the-box computer use agent, the code version, up against their operator agent. The code version is here on the left and operator is here on the right. And what I did was I put the same prompt into both of them to see just like how do they perform differently against each other. So I'll run this video here and you'll see I input my prompt down here for the code version here. So find me the opening times for the Tower of London. And I submit that and you'll see that the agent is going to start working on that. So the agent takes a screenshot, starts working. Then in the right pane over here, I put the same prompt into operator, find me the opening times for the Tower of London. And you can see both agents get to work doing what they're doing. And initially, the code version seems to start off quite well. It's searching in Bing for the Tower of London opening times. It gets to the search result. You can see the operator in ChatGPT is caught up on the right here. And then we see something quite interesting happen. The code version gets caught up on a cookie notification, whereas the OpenAI version on the right has already completed the request. It says the Tower of London is open from 10 a.m. to 5:30 Sunday, yada, yada, yada. Whereas if we look on the left, the code version from the OpenAI demo app is still stuck on these cookie banners and can't get past them. Anyway, that's kind of as far as that video demo goes. And what that shows is that actually there's a bit more to making these agents work than just running the code in the repository. You actually need like a little bit of scaffolding around them so that they can actually navigate the web relatively successfully. And I think that's pretty much what OpenAI have done with their operator. So what I was trying to do with my Colab notebook was to try to get to some level of closeness around how that performs. And to do that, running that in a Google Colab notebook with a UI which visualizes what the agent is doing and the chat interface, and also captures all the logs. And I've been able to do it, and I'm very happy to share the code for that with you as well. So I'll put a link to my repository, and in the repository you'll find that you can just click through to the Colab notebook, and this is what it looks like here. So here's the Colab notebook. What this will do is enable you to step-by-step run the code that I use to create this agent, and you'll see some of the techniques I have used to get this agent to work well in Colab. As I say in the description of the notebook, this is an experimental demo. It enables you to run a simple computer use agent to observe the actions that it takes and to analyze the API logs and also see all the screenshots it takes as well. Now this has been designed to work within the constraints of Colab and to provide that simple user interface. And then I also include some simple techniques to minimize agent detection so that it can reasonably robustly navigate the internet to do stuff. Because what you'll find when you try to use computer use agents on the internet is that there's a lot of impediments that get in their way, like cookie banners and all kinds of other pop-ups, which can be a bit of a pain for them to handle. Also put some stuff in there like connect me, yada yada. Show you how to set up your OpenAI key. So what you'll need to do is just have your OpenAI key in Colab Secrets and name it just like this for it to work. Okay, so what else do I say here? Important, please read. I say, actually, yeah, these computer use agents can consume a lot of tokens because they're processing text and images, and there's a bit of work that you have to do with handling the history around these to make them work well. So you can end up passing quite a lot of tokens back and forth, so just be mindful of that. In this notebook, I implement a approach where it passes the last 10 messages in context to the agent, so the agent knows what it is doing. Again, this can incur a lot of tokens. I recommend keeping sessions short, and by all means automate this code as much as you want. Sometimes computer use agents can get stuck in loops, or they can act irrationally or erratically, and that can mean that they end up eating a lot more tokens as well. You'll see later on that all the API responses are logged in a folder called API logs, and the agent history is also saved in something called the conversation history.json. And again, this can be useful just to analyze back and see what the agent did, because as the agent works on your problem or the prompt that you give it, it will be taking screenshots, it will be conducting click actions in a virtual browser, and all of that is quite helpful and quite useful to know about, so you can understand if your agent starts to fail at any task. The screenshots are going to be saved in a screenshots folder. This works pretty well. You'll see the chat interaction history. And also one other thing I implemented was the notebook uses something called the previous response ID to pass back agent actions to the computer use model. This is a technique that OpenAI put in their repository. And yeah, it works okay. Okay, cool. So first thing you're going to want to do is to run the package installs. I've already done that. That takes maybe a minute. Then you're going to want to run your OpenAI key setup. So I'm going to grant access to that. Okay, so that's been set up and run. Now we're going to run some code which creates some folders for the agent to store things like the screenshots. So we'll run that. And we can see in a file structure that we've had some folders created. The screenshots folder here, a blank status.json file. And this status.json file is where a history of actions by the agent are stored, and those get called into the UI that will be run in this Colab environment. Now we're going to set up basically a definition which will create a tool which updates the status for the agent as the agent progresses through actions. You can read more about what this is about in your own time. Now we're going to set up an async browser control class with Playwright. And what this does is it creates an automated headless browser using Playwright with stealth features activated as well. So Playwright is something that is like used in web application testing and also used a lot in scraping as well. And what it does is it creates a virtual, well, it's actually a real version of the Chrome browser, so that actions can be automated within a web environment to complete actions. So that's what the agent uses to run the web browser, which we'll see visualized in the pane. But what I've also done is import a special version of Playwright, which is called Playwright Stealth, and that has some additions within it, which will make it less easy for agent detection systems or bot detection systems on websites to detect the agent. Now, this is purely for educational purposes, and I'm not doing anything nefarious with this. This is purely to just show how does the AI work and how is it able to navigate the web. Generally, like anything where you're kind of trying to evade bots or bot detection systems, that's a gray area. Think carefully about that. As long as you're using this for educational purposes, or you're very clear on what you're using it for and where you stand with that, just be sure of that. That's all I'd say. So cool, I run that. Next, we are going to run some more code which sets out some browser interaction stuff. Again, you can read all of the instructions in greater detail. And now we're going to set up some code which is going to run the browser-based AI agent in the background. And I'll run that. Actually, see what's in here. Is this the interesting bit? Okay, yeah. What's quite interesting in this bit of code is that you'll see the system prompt that I have to put in for the agent. And this gives you a sense of like how these compute use agents are a little bit different from typical prompting. So you'll see that I give some directions around the tools or the controls that the agent has to navigate the web. So it says go to URL, navigate to a URL directly, back, forward. I also give it some navigation guidelines. So I say for direct website navigation, always go to or return to the previous page. I also tell it how to continue actions. So I say to the agent, you have to decide if you are in a chain or a sequence of actions, whether to continue that. So say, for example, it was booking a restaurant table. The agent would need to determine whether it was in a set of steps in completion of that action to continue what it is doing in this code. Otherwise, if it is starting a new task, then it goes and navigates to a new web URL or to a Google search. Some more instructions around context switching, navigating in the same context, just some interaction guidelines as well, and then a few keyboard shortcuts. And I think this is quite interesting. It took me a while to figure this out. Like, I didn't realize that you had to write specific prompts for compute use agents, but you do. And I think that's going to be one of the learning curves that a lot of people go through when using these agents. What else have we got here? Got some more code which just runs some processes. Again, you can read all of the descriptions of what each of these do. And then now we've got code which sets up our UI. And then to run our UI, we just run this piece of code here. Let's have a look. How's that going to display? Okay, cool. And that's our UI running. So you can see here we've got a status bar under here which says is running false. So this says that the agent isn't running, and that's correct because we haven't inputted any queries to the agent yet. And what we can also see is that there's a bunch of folders here. So a screenshots folder, a logs folder, status folder. And we'll see this changes a little bit in a second. So I'll put in my first prompt. I'll say, get me the opening times for the Tower of London. Okay, so the agent has navigated to Google. Let's put in that search query for us, and we can see it do that. It's landed on a search result. Now, the interesting thing is, will the agent recognize the answer is on this page, or will it navigate in? Okay, so it's done that. The opening times for the Tower of London are generally from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Okay, cool. Now, tell me the top 3 stories on Ars Technica. Just their titles. Okay, let's see if it will context switch correctly to this. Okay, so the agent has successfully navigated to Ars Technica. It says, after market tumult, Trump exempts smartphones from tariffs. AI isn't ready to replace human coders. Turbulent global economy could drive up prices for Netflix. Okay, please summarize the first paragraph of the third story. So let's see if the agent continues that action correctly. So we can see it's still on Ars Technica. Okay, so so it's navigated down a little to that third story. Again, as I said, that's one of the things with these compute use agents is that They can take a bit of time to complete an action. They can be a little bit buggy, a little bit unreliable, and there's a fair bit of engineering that you have to do around them to get them to work, like using the playwright stealth approach. Okay, so it's gone through to that article. Okay, and it's got the result. The first paragraph of the article, there we go, we can see it's got that article. And please summarize the next 3 paragraphs. See if it continues from there again. Okay, so we can see it's still navigating, and then we can see that the agent is passing the history in these response IDs here. Okay, and it's got our result. The next 3 paragraphs highlight that the UK's Culture, Media and Sport Committee has suggested a streaming tax on subscription, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so we can see that it's successfully actioned that. We had the context switch from searching for the Tower of London. It's also demonstrated that it's got the ability to continue history within a conversation as well. And speaking of conversation history, that is stored in this file here, conversationhistory.json. And that stores all of the history with the agent. And you'll see that there's a bunch of stuff in here. You see the images that it takes. There's action types, computer call action types. There's a bunch of stuff in here. You can see the call IDs, the type of action that it takes, so a go-to action there. And here is a web interaction log. So you can see here it was scrolling, and that was a computer call action there. So again, this is quite nice. Like I'm pretty happy with this, like making available that conversation history. So if you are running these agents, you just want to get a sense of like what they're about. That's a pretty useful thing to have. You've got all of your API logs in here as well, so I'll close that. Okay, so here's all your API logs. So you've all the requests and all the responses, and these are all time-stamped as well. So this is what a request looks like. Okay, you can see the request, and here's what a response looks like as well. Okay, so this is a response. So actually what's quite nice about the response is you can see actually that the input tokens and total token usage is also recorded in these as well. So, you know, if you wanted to go back through and see how much were a series of actions costing you, you can run that as well. So when you're finished running your agent, all you need to do is go to runtime, interrupt execution, and that stops it from running. And then if you want to start a new chat with the agent, you need to refresh the conversation, and refreshing the conversation will delete all of these folders and everything contained in them as well. So it's basically like starting from a blank slate again. So we run that. And we'll see that all of those have been cleaned out. And then when you're ready to run again, you just come up to the browser window here, run that again, and you'll see you've got a blank browser window here. And then you can start again. So find me the postcode for Roka, sushi restaurant, in Fitzrovia. And we'll see the agent will get to work on this one. Okay, so we can see the logs running. Again, one of the things with these computer agents is that they can take a while to do simple stuff. It's kind of interesting. Like, you know, you think it'd be pretty quick and pretty easy for it to put in a search term, but you know, it can take a while to figure that out where to click. But there, it's got the search term in there, and then we can see it making that search for the restaurant, and then it should get us back that postcode in a second. Okay, so it missed the postcode in the search result. Again, this is what they can do, so be prepared. Like, it's going to burn some tokens for me now. It's decided to go straight to the Roku website to go and check it out. So let's see what it's going to do for us. It's probably going to click on here for a bunch of time. Very interesting. This is like what these agents do, and this is what makes them interesting, but also a little bit challenging at times to work with, because you can literally sit there watching it as you're waiting for it to kind of do a very basic action. So let's see. Okay, so I got the postcode. I'm not sure where that is on that page. Might be out of view. Let's have a look at the screenshots. Okay, so we've got a bunch of screenshots in here. What's this one here? Okay, so that screenshot didn't populate through into the browser yet. That happens sometimes. Anyway, it got there. There it is. There was just a bit of a delay. Fine, so we could see that it got there. And again, Colab isn't the most perfect environment to run a UI like this, but just getting that UI working in here, I'm pretty happy with. And overall, I think it's quite a nice way to get your hands on with these computer use agents. And yeah, hopefully it's useful to you. Use it responsibly. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please share it with other people. Please also star the repo as well, if you like. I don't usually ask for stuff like that, but actually it's quite helpful to know if people are actually, finding it useful in any way. So yeah, and thank you very much for your time, and catch you in the next one. Bye.